Most games typically cater to a specific niche of players. Difficult games are for more experienced gamers, while cozy games are for the casual ones. However, there are games that make you feel incredible regardless of your experience in games. Games that anyone can enjoy. This was probably the easiest game to put on this list. If you aren't familiar with this game, Stardew Valley at its core is a basic farming simulator. It starts with your dying granddad giving you a farm in this place called Stardew Valley. You spend your time fixing up your farm, finding out the villagers' lore and story, spending your hard-earned money on buildings or crops, which essentially creates a very addictive gameplay loop that you can pretty much do forever. Stardew Valley is just one of those games that make you feel something, either from the countless activities you can do in the overworld or by challenging the limits of your patience and grit by overcoming perfection. This allows any type of player, casuals or perfectionists, to get their fair share of enjoyment from this game. Another aspect which I would say often gets overlooked because of the countless other things it has to offer is the music. Stardew Valley's soundtracks make you feel a part of the game's world. The different vibe and tone of each soundtrack depending on the seasons is a great detail that really adds to the immersion aspect of the game. Summer is upbeat and lively, while winter is slow and solemn. Just please play this game. It's cheap, it's easy to pick up, but just beware because this can put you in a literal chokehold for weeks. Probably my favorite open world game of all time. Breath of the Wild is just a breath of fresh air in the Zelda franchise. Breath of the Wild came out at a time when open worlds were stuffed with fluff and pointless missions. But in this game, you pretty much have one main mission: to destroy Ganon and save Princess Zelda. With that in mind, you can explore the vast open world for hours and hours upon end before you eventually finish the game, or just finish the game at a time you see fit. Though I am aware of the criticism this game faces, specifically in the lack of dungeons, and I do understand where people are coming from, I still think it's a minuscule factor from what this game ultimately offers. This game's open world is one of the most intricate and vast open worlds I've ever immersed myself in. Every nook and cranny in this game's map contains another secret, another piece of lore, or just a funny interaction with an NPC. Similar to Stardew Valley, this game's music just scratches an itch in my ear every time I hear it. Everything from the opening theme to the musical cues whenever you get an item, or the OG soundbites from the earlier games. The sound design in this game is just great. If you have a Switch and you haven't played this game, what are you doing? Please play this game. If I had to describe this game in one word, it would be nostalgia. I played this game when I was 9 years old. I beat it, but 9-year-old me wasn't that critical with the games I played before, so I just kind of forgot that I played it. However, almost a decade later, I heard one of the musical pieces from this game in a YouTube video, and I was transported in time. It was like a switch in my brain turned on, and I suddenly remembered the good times I had with this game. To this day, this game's music stands at the top of the mountain of video game soundtracks as one of, if not the best it has to offer. Every single planet you visit is a whole orchestra. Even just the hub area of the game has music that just sticks with you. Of course, you can talk about a game without mentioning gameplay, and I believe this is a top-tier Mario game in that aspect. The spherical shapes of the planets plus the concept of gravity is a really fun mechanic, and I'm really bummed out that other Mario games haven't delved deeper into this style of gameplay. The Wii controls were also above average considering the time, with the Wii sensor being an integral part of collecting currency in the game. Compared to the present time's platformers such as Super Mario Wonder or Astrobot, even if this game is almost 20 years old, it still holds up very well. This for me is the quintessential Spider-Man story. This game just gets it in terms of everything in a comic book perspective. The two lives of Peter Parker, the villains, and his dynamic with MJ. It has one of the best plots not just in Spider-Man lore but in video games as a whole. The writing is very balanced as well. It has moments where you can genuinely laugh at Peter's jokes while some where you can feel for the man's suffering. This game just has the sauce. Its gameplay is far from bad either. Although the combat is not as refined as the Arkham games, which were essentially the pioneers of the strike/counter free-flow combat in games, this is definitely a close second. I especially love the gadgets that you have that act as secondary weapons to your fists. It adds another layer in the combat that differentiates it from just spamming square and dodging with triangle. Kinda bummed out that its sequel fumbled a bit in its story, but still a great follow-up nonetheless. This game was my introduction to the Persona series, and it brought me back to gaming as a whole. I played this game at the beginning of my freshman year in college where adjusting was tough and school overall was a slog. Still, this game freed me from the hells of university and made it bearable, because every single time my class ended, I just wanted to go home to raise up Makoto or to hear Yuji say, "Real?" or spend hours hearing your friends' stories. This game can just suck you in through its immersive gameplay loop. The concept of having two lives, one as a student and one as a dungeon crawling thief, is really cool and engaging. I really enjoyed the concept of increasing your daily social stats and increasing your combat stats at a later time. Not to mention the music and visuals in this game are top notch. Just the HUD in this game is mesmerizing. I actually have the Royal version, but I messed up the requirements for the third semester, so I essentially only played the Vase version. Still, this gives me reason to replay this monster of a game. I know what you're thinking. A Souls game in a video about games where anyone can enjoy. But hear me out first. In our daily lives, we improve on every aspect by failing first and learning to get back up second. That is the same concept for Souls games, specifically for Dark Souls. This game is not my first Souls game by any means, but it is my favorite nonetheless. The main reason is the immersive nature of this game. Every place you go is somehow interconnected with another place you may or may not have been to. This creates a world that seems alive and real, as opposed to just a vast open world where you can explicitly see that places transition from one to another. The boss designs in this game are also very underrated. I particularly love the Ornstein and Smo boss fight because it doesn't feel like a cheap gang fight but an actual 2v1 that has some stakes and value. Plus, the second phase is really cool. Though I think this game has very clunky controls and some bosses and areas that are straight up just bullshit, I still think if you're new to the Souls genre, this is a must-play. Although everyone's taste in games varies in nature, I believe you can pick and play any of these games and have a good time with it. Everything from the gameplay of Stardew Valley to the electric music of Persona 5 to the inevitable defeat but the gratifying victory of Dark Souls, every person who loves or even likes video games can enjoy their time playing these games.